I'm sorry to say that Gwen's plan is just as great as I feared it might be. So don't expect too much. Hi guys, I'm Kat. Welcome back to the read-along of the Cyborg Tinkerer by Meg LaTorre. We've made it to chapter 23. Last chapter, Gwen told people that she had a plan and that they should come by that evening so she could lay out a set plan that she made up on the spot, and you will see. Yeah, it will be apparent that she did make it up on the spot. Chapter 23 is from Rora's perspective, and while she and Arcu are on their way to Gwen's room, she notes that they are way more watchmen than they used to be, and it just supports my theory that they are actually robots and the mistress is producing them in the castle or something. Yeah. But then it starts off strong with Rora thinking, what am I doing? I should be focusing on my performance now more than ever, not running to Gwen the moment she calls. She asked you to come to her room once. It's not like she constantly calls you over to do stuff for her. It's literally once, like, hey, I have a plan to save all of our asses. How about you come by? And she's like, oh God, I am at her beck and call. It's like, no, you're not. And also it's not going to kill you to show up there. But yeah, Rora is being a bit dramatic. Yeah, let's put it that way. But Rora's mind is on her attainable dream of performing for the Emperor and securing his patronage, because that's what life is all about. Working for the guy who was more or less trying to kill your kind or outlaw your kind. Yeah, but that's the spirit, Rora. So Arcu and Rora make it to Gwen's room. They talk for a couple of seconds and Rora is instantly so hot for Gwen that she swallowed quickly as arousal stirred the flesh between her legs. And then her instant thought is get a grip. And I'm like, yeah, wow, that's the first solid thought you had there. Get a grip, woman. Just because Gwen is in the room, you know. Keep your panties on. Jesus Christ. Bastion joins them because despite the more or less argument he had with Gwen in the last chapter, he is totally on board with helping the performers. So they talk for a bit and Rora notes that Bastion and Gwen are on first name basis and she's like totally jealous about it, and you're just here like, yes, they talk on a first name basis. A boo-hoo. But Rora suspects that the ringleader has fallen for Gwen. Nobody knows why. Me least of all, because Gwen hasn't shown us much that makes her likable in any way, but I don't know. I guess despite the fact that they started out with 300 performers, only 2 or 3 of them are actually attractive in any way to anybody. I don't fucking know. Gwen presents her brilliant plan. She wants to mess with the props of Abercan and his cronies to mess with their performances for the third competition. And I'm over here like, you have a couple of days before you even leave the planet to go to this outlaw station planet or whatever, and this is the best you got? Like, you have access to the kitchen, you could poison somebody, you know that watchmen have keys for the rooms, you could try to steal some and get rid of people, or, you know, I can think of a couple of ways. And nothing that is so kindergarten as like, oh, I'm gonna mess with those props. And to be fair, her version, like her plan, would not get anybody killed, unlike the stuff that I just laid out. But somebody's gonna get killed in this third competition anyway, and we're talking about the guy that murdered people in the second competition. Rora still suspects he killed somebody in the first competition as well, but we have no actual proof of that, but we definitely saw him kill people in the second competition, so you shouldn't feel too bad about getting rid of this guy, I don't think. Anyway, Rora is shocked that Gwen would want to take on Abercan, and I don't get why, because quite a few chapters back at this point, she was happy to accuse him of murder in public, but messing with props to make him fail the third competition, that's a problem? Okay. We learned something very interesting about Rora. We already know that she broke her hand to the degree that it couldn't be fixed and she couldn't perform anymore. That's why she took on the contract from the Cyborg Circus. Except they didn't just replace her hand, she chopped it off herself because she was desperate enough, and I guess they didn't want to make her a cyborg while the hand was still attached. I don't know. But she chopped it off herself, so now I'm a little bit concerned about Rora. Gotta be honest. They talk for a bit more. Gwen tries to convince them and she busts out the 3 words. She tells Aurora that she loves her. And you overhear, yeah, but why? You haven't spent enough time together to develop such intense feelings and you barely know each other. And okay. Aurora doesn't reply in kind, so there's that. But then literally on the next page, she gets told Gwen loves her on this page, and on this page she notices that Gwen looks between her and Bastion while she's speaking, and she instantly gets jealous again. And it's like, woman, Gwen just told you in front of everybody that she loves you, and literally 2 seconds later you hear like, oh, she's looking at this guy. It's like, oh my god, get a grip. Like, from what we learned about Aurora so far, she doesn't seem like a deeply insecure person, but the jealousy we've seen just in this chapter speaks of deep insecurities. And once again, it feels like the character just flip-flops depending on what was wanted in the scene rather than what the character would actually do. Aurora is not a fan of the idea of cheating in any competition, and she heads back to her room eventually. And it is so convenient. She's standing in her own dark room and says this to herself, out loud. What am I supposed to do? She muttered. Tell Abercon, hey, mortal enemy, hope all is well. I want to beat you fair and square, so I thought I'd let you know that someone plans to sabotage your act in the 3rd competition. She was literally contemplating just telling Abercon beforehand because, oh no, she wants to win against the best competitors by herself. And it's like, this is stupid given the situation. This is not just about patronage, it's about your survival, but whatever. But conveniently she says this out loud because then it turns out that Abercon and Fernil are already in her room and have been waiting for her. So Abercon pulls out something that sounds like a cattle prod, like an electroshocker that is usually used for the beasts of the circus. So this is something that can knock out and potentially kill something the size of a tiger or lion. Abercon threatens to hit Aurora with it, and she starts and turns for the door. And then he goes, oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, or something. And she's like, oh my god, I better stop now. It's like, why? He's already aiming an electroshocker at you. Even if you just get the door to open, you might be better off if the watchmen are not in on this and there are so many lining the walls and hallways. Even if you just get the door open, this might make a difference for life or death in this situation. But no, she actually freezes and then gets shot with this electroshocker and passes out. So all in all, I'm rather disappointed both with Aurora's idea of telling Abercon in general, what the heck are you thinking? And Gwen's plan. And she has a couple of other people in this room. Like, she's talking to Archie, Aurora, Bastion, and those are also your only allies. That's a bit concerning. But she talks to these guys, and this is the best plan they have. We'll mess with some props. Wow. In chapter 24, we're back with Gwen. She knows that Aurora is apprehensive about cheating in any competition, but she's hopeful that she's finally making a difference. So instead of going to breakfast, she heads to the dormitory wing and goes for Aurora's room. Aurora is passed out on the floor. No surprise there. Gwen tells Archie to get Bastion and the healer. They do turn up, and the healer takes a look at Aurora and sees no mark on her. Nothing that could indicate what happened to her or why she's passed out. So Gwen assumes it's her fault because she did something wrong with the implant. And I have to wonder, if you get hit by some electroshocker or cattle prod or whatever, that stuff is designed to knock out something with way thicker skin than human beings, and there's no mark on it. Something that can knock out or kill a tiger or something, and there's no mark on Aurora whatsoever. I think if you get hit with enough electricity, there should be burn marks on you at the very least, but no, there's nothing that gives away what could be wrong with Aurora, so Gwen just assumes the worst and thinks it's on her. But we also learned from the healer that if Aurora and Mizana don't wake up in the next 4 days, they will be automatically disqualified. That's highly important information right this second. Well, it was probably good to drop that somewhere because I don't know, I wouldn't put it past the mistress to just start operating on the guys that are in a coma. That sounds like something she would do, so yeah. But helpfully, Aberkan left a note. This little bird told us a pretty tale before she passed out. Think carefully before you cross us. There will be consequences if you do. You think this note would tell you something, but then Gwen still thinks it's on her, and then the healer, remember, the public masturbator from a couple of chapters ago. Are we sure these people didn't hurt Roar? Barbosa said. Could there have been a reason for whatever is happening to her? No, Gwen said, her voice hollow. If she's rejecting her implant just like Mazana, I know full fucking well who's to blame. Like, did you literally not hear anything? I mean, I think she's the one who read out this note. Did you not actually digest anything you just read? Because why the fuck would there be a note of Aberkan in this room telling you that Roar passed out at some point, and you would just assume, oh no, it's my implant, it can't possibly be the guys who threatened to kill us all along, or the guy that she accused of murder and it's a mortal enemy. It's like, what the fuck? People are so stupid in this book, like seriously. Gwen is in full drama mode though. You know, everything is explained. Roar has played her, and that's why she never said that she loved her back, because she was only using Gwen, and I'm just over here like, you barely know each other. There are plenty of reasons why she wouldn't say I love you back, but yeah, never mind. No, Gwen is in full drama mode. Everything is her fault, and everything's gone to shit, so yeah. I can't believe that the only person in the room, like, they have Bastion in there as well, right? So you would assume that the characters you follow or that are important are not like the village idiots. But here we are, because only the healer, the least reliable person I think in this room for the moment, mostly because we barely know him, is the only one who sees the possibility that it could have been Aberkan and his cronies knocking out Roar. In chapter 25, Gwen has decided to run off because Roar's betrayal is just too much for her. So she packs her bags, waits for night to fall, and with only a single month's pay in her pocket, she sets off. I'm like, why do you have any payment at all? Because I swear, further towards the beginning, some performer complained that they hadn't been paid in months, so why would Gwen be the only one who actually has any money on her? I thought Bastion just recruited her with the promise of getting rid of her brain tumor and giving her a cyborg eye. I guess there was some spare change lying around. Anyway, Gwen gets her skimmer and goes out the window and sods off. And I didn't wonder about this for the second competition, but why does Gwen even have a skimmer? If the mistress wants to keep people in there, or in the castle, couldn't she have just taken the skimmer off Gwen? She must know she owns them, because I cannot imagine that the mistress didn't go through everybody's belongings, or particularly her new Tinkerer, if she really wanted her there. But finally, on her way to the docks, Gwen wonders what happened to the dragon. It's like, finally somebody cares, if only for one line, because, you know, she's headed away from the circus and she doesn't know anyway, so. Poor dragon. But if she thinks about it now, then it will probably turn up again. I hope it gets to eat somebody then. But because of Roar's betrayal, Gwen now assumes that none of the cyborgs want her help anyway, and she was fighting so hard for them, but now all she can do is run off. And this seems like the behavior of a 12-year-old to me at best, not that of a grown woman with some resolve to her, but yeah, okay. We get some more confusing bits about the world building. As she walked towards the docks, several tavern benches and wards stopped pouring buckets of stars knew what into the streets to stare at. So we have no plumbing systems. We have cyborgs, but healers, because surgeons are otherwise not a thing. We have spaceships, but no plumbing systems anywhere. For now, I just have to assume that plumbing in space, hence, works just like it did on sail ships centuries back, where you just stick your butt over the side of the ship and do your business there. And I will just try to imagine this in space now, where you just occasionally have like a window open and the butt sticking out or something. It's like, wow. I mean, it can't possibly be it, but that's the picture I get thanks to this mix of medieval and space travel now. And something else not so great made it through all the centuries. Slave trade has made it into the age of space travel as well. They're called flesh traders now, but, you know, different name, same shit. Gwen goes around and asks a couple of captains whether they would take her along or whether she could secure passage. 2 of them straight up turn her down because she's a cyborg. The 3rd ship belongs to the flesh traders, so she doesn't really want to go there. She tries to go past, but is soon surrounded by sailors. And for some reason just abducting people straight on the docks is a thing as well. But from these sailors, Gwen also learns that the mistress has sold some of the performers. So she took their implants and then she sold them to flesh traders. Is anybody surprised? Yeah, Gwen kind of is. I'm not, but Gwen is. So Gwen gets surrounded by these sailors, but she's armed. It's all good, except her gun is only good for a single shot. Is ammunition scarce in this day and age as well? Because if not, then that's kind of garbage. That's like your last way out zombie apocalypse kind of situation where you keep 1 bullet for yourself just in case. But that's not what Gwen is doing here, so the preparation on this woman. So the sailors surround her and inform her that they are used to capturing people and they know how to work in a team. And Gwen is like, ooh, if they're organized, I can't win this. There are several guys surrounding you. You never stood a chance with just your 1 bullet anyway. The captain of the flesh traders joins them just to have some sort of conversation with Gwen. And Gwen is appalled. A woman forcing other women to fulfill the desires of men, you should be ashamed. Is pimping people out more reprehensible if it comes from a woman? I don't think there's much space to go lower than that anyway, and I don't think your gender matters in that. Gwen manages to hurt 1 or 2 of them, possibly kill someone before she gets punched, and Bastion turns up trying to save her. I hope his gun has more than 2 shots in it. Now they have this surreal conversation. Bastion tells them that one of my performers, she snuck out, I want her back, and the captain is like, no, she killed some of my men, what kind of performance are you putting on? And Bastion has to say, she's a singer. And Gwen is just like, oh, did you have to pick this one? It's like, why does this captain even care? This woman that your men were clearly trying to capture just killed a couple of them. Either you just abandon this whole thing now, or you just take both Gwen and Bastion, because what else is the point here? Why are you having this conversation? It makes no sense to me. Gwen and Bastion fight the sailors for a little bit, and Bastion also brought a rapier, because not just guns. Cool. It's possibly not the best weapon if you go against like sabers or heavier swords, but you know, he's holding out okay, I think. But then Gwen tells you that compared to the meaty sailors, Bastion seems small enough to fit in a matchbox, regardless of his height and broad stature. What are these sailors built like? If Bastion is already taller than Gwen, who is consistently described as pretty tall, and he has a broad stature, then are all of those sailors built like Dwayne Johnson or something? Because no, how else would somebody that they look like they could fit in a matchbox next to these guys? And if they are all built like Dwayne Johnson, how the heck is Bastion holding out against them? Spoiler alert, he doesn't. They managed to kill quite a few of them and get rid of the captain, but Bastion is hurt. So now Gwen has to decide whether she wants to run into the ship and help potential slaves that are trapped in it, or whether she tries to get help for Bastion. And her plan of action is to run off and get help for Bastion, because he would bleed out by the time she comes back from freeing anybody, in case there are more sailors on the ship. And then try to get on board and free people. So instead of helping anybody on the ship, Gwen pulls Bastion onto her skimmer and takes off towards civilization to find him a healer. I think that's as much Cyborg Tinkerer as I can stomach today, so join me next time to watch Bastion getting stitched up, I suppose. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to help the channel out, and let me know in the comments whether you read the book and what you think happened to the poor dragon, or will the dragon show back up? I know there are characters I should be caring about, but I'm more concerned with the dragon still, so... Bye guys!